Welcome. This is the Global Summit House podcast. Catch power interviews and discussions with influential, inspiring, and powerful people. Explore what's possible by tuning into this podcast with our all-new The Writers Project episodes, featuring one of the world's most inspired thinkers and writers. Visit our website at www.globalsummithouse.com.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Kurt, and today we're going to get to know Frank, and he has a new project. Frank, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a lot about this new project you have?
Oh, yeah. I taught biology for most of my days. I retired and then decided to write a sci-fi novel in the style of Michael Crichton, who I really admire because he takes real science and deals with it in a fictional way. So there are no dragons with wings flying around in my story.
Well, very good. So what is the objective of your project when we read, your writing and we're diving into the science of it? What's your objective for us as readers?
Well, I wanted to write a novel in the style of Michael Crichton. So it's real science. Like Jurassic Park. It's real science with some psychic elements put in.
Okay, so kind of where are you reaching in the world? Kind of what's the influence in the content of this book?
How do you mean what's the influence? What influenced me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, reading other science fiction, basically, and after reading enough, of course, you get your favorites and others that you don't care about so much. I decided that I could do this, being a teacher, etc. And then I went out and bought a couple dozen books on how to write a novel with other people's novels in front of me, and I think there's one book in particular that helped guide me in writing this, and it's called Structuring Your Novel, which is still in print, and I recommend it to anybody. And using that, I worked in the library pretty much every day after school because I couldn't write while I was teaching. So it came out okay, and I got a great Kirkus review.
Okay, very good. So in the spirit of teaching, if I read your book, what do you hope that I learned from your book?
Well, actually, it's not learning so much. It's exciting and eye-opening. In fact, one of my readers emailed me that he couldn't put the book down. He was up until 3:15 in the morning reading it. So it's moves very quickly. A lot of elements are involved. There's a love story involved. There's some mysticism that happens. At one point, there's a time reversal or time change, and it starts out, of course, in now in New York, and then at one point it goes back to ancient Greece. But I don't want to give it away.
All right, very good. So kind of what else could you tell us there? The old cliche is don't judge a book by its cover, but any other reference that you feel is safe to tell us about what's inside?
Yes. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I got a terrific Kirkus review. In fact, on the back of the book, it says a well-told Crichton-style sci-fi novel of otherworldly jeopardy and ancient aliens that take the reader into a surreal world of infinite possibility. That's Carcass. You know what Carcass is, of course.
I personally don't, but anything you want to explain on that?
Yes, Carcass is a reviewing agency. The only thing they do is review novels, and I think it's 1920 it started, and the last name of the woman who started it was Kirkus, Kirkus, and they're highly regarded, and if you pay them, I think it was $400 or so, they will review your book and give you the lowdown without any BS, if you understand what I mean. And I got a terrific review. You wouldn't want me to read it to you? I guess it's like a paragraph.
Sure. Well, if you just want to either read it or read part of it, what jumps out at you? What's here for our listeners on what your reviews are getting?
Well, I think the what I just said about it being real science. It takes place on a monster, I guess you would call it a cruise ship, where all the, not all the rooms, most of the rooms are laboratories that are like 50 years ahead of what's going on in real science. And there's an outbreak of, it makes me think of COVID, unfortunately, but there's an outbreak of a disease in New Guinea that either turns your skin crusty as if it had been fried chicken and kills you, or else if there are certain mental attributes you have, it can bring enlightenment, psychic abilities.
All right. So we're living in the time of this pandemic, and I'm hearing you be careful, because it sounds to me like we don't want to get too prejudiced in reading the book, thinking too much about our pandemic. But in terms of like the World Health Organization, what people are learning through this pandemic, that maybe this time is helping us appreciate your book that much more. Would that be right?
Well, it's interesting you say that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the first chapter starts out with my hero, who is an epidemiologist going into the World Health Organization doors in New York on a snowy day, and then it develops from there. He goes inside and finds out what's going on. It's horrible business in New Guinea, and he meets a woman on the ship who he falls in love with, but I don't make a big deal about the love scene. But she's a paralyzed woman who is gorgeous and healthy in every way, except she can't move, but she's brilliant and beautiful, and she's has these psychic abilities.
All right. So I'm kind of sensing this is like an experience, and conversationally, people can get to what they say. It's, you got to be there. So it seems like you just got to read it. But I'm hearing that understanding politics and history and science could help a reader if they've got some interest and understanding in those areas. Am I on the right track? Yeah,
well, I think that anybody, and I keep referring to this, anybody that liked Crichton stuff from the time, how many years ago now, I don't know, but when he wrote Andromeda Strain, which kept me up pretty late. After that, I guess maybe 6 months or so, I decided, hey, I could do this, so I started, as I said, read many books on how to write a novel, kept a lot of notes, went through the plot in my head and on paper, if this happens and this must happen, etc. And then there were times of inspiration where the story just flowed without my thinking. Most of the time I would write a page and then cross out a couple of lines and then rewrite it, but toward the end it just flowed.
Very good. So am I hearing that this is your first book?
Yes, this is a debut novel.
Very good. Very good. So So are you feeling that having completed this novel that you've really captured what you're doing as an author? Or are you thinking this is a beginning, or is this just
Yes.
the book you wanted to write? Where is that for you?
No, it was very important to me, and I did finish what I wanted to finish, and the message I had, or that is in there, if you want to call it a message, is what I wanted to say. And there are times when, you're writing that you're in this situation, your plot's going here, Joe Blow is doing this or the other thing, and then you have a little inspiration how I could put this in because X, Y, Z. Hard to explain unless you're a writer.
Okay, so if readers out there are trying to figure out what their next book is going to read, and they might have another book or two that's kind of teasing them to read a different book, but then they're looking at yours and getting to your story, kind of what might you think they would be thankful for that they chose your book to be their next book?
Because, and this sounds like I'm patting myself on the back. It is a terrific story. Just very above the normal when it comes to sci-fi. I say that myself without any hesitation. Anybody who buys it will be very happy that they read it. It will give them a lift, and it ends on a positive note, actually, very positive.
Very good. So is there possibly, as you were writing this, were there probably some stereotypical readers you were thinking about? Like, were you trying to specifically write to particular people? Like, do you think
yes.
you were writing to an audience?
Yeah, I know I keep mentioning this. Excuse me for interrupting you again. But I had like 2 or 3 Crichton novels and a couple of Stephen King novels on my desk, and so sometimes I would just go back and read a passage, either dialogue or other parts of their stuff and see what they did, and then I would think to myself, okay, this is great, because I love King and Crichton, of course, as I keep saying, and then I would see what they did, and then I would go, oh, I see, and then look back at my How to Write a Novel book, and it's very, how can I say it? It's very easy to read, very logical, even though it's science fiction. It flows extremely well, and it's exciting because each chapter is a little bit different. My hero ends up at one point under a kind of hypnosis in ancient Greece, which is why on the cover of the book is a picture of the Parthenon. And then, of course, a lot of it has to do with radio telescopy.
All right. So if people are really getting captivated and we've kind of have them here, and now they want to start their journey with what they have available to read with this story in your book, kind of what do you suggest them? If this is their introduction to you, how do they keep going on this journey and get this book?
Well, I'm not sure, because it's I have a new publisher right now who's terrific, and so it will be available on Amazon, I assume, and various other sites when everything is tied up. I'm still at the end of doing some things with my marketing expert before it gets out on Amazon.
All right, very good. Well, I think we really got a great invitation here, and basically, I'm very appreciative to everybody that's joined us. Thank you for sharing your project with us, Frank. And until next time, I'm Kurt.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Global Summit House podcast. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, iTunes, or Google Play. Connect with us at globalsummithouse.com. See you on the next episode.